For over a century, Jaguar's leaping cat stood for British luxury and engineering brilliance, until overnight executives ordered its entire history deleted. In November 2024, a radical new philosophy announced that heritage itself was ordinary and should be erased. That move would ignite the collapse of $2 billion you saw in the title. But what were they thinking, and how did one forgotten legacy lead so quickly to disaster? Since 1922, Jaguar defined what it meant to drive with distinction. The leaping cat emblem, polished chrome and poised in mid-flight, became a global symbol of British performance and elegance. For generations, owning a Jaguar was not just about transportation. It was a statement of taste, a link to a tradition of racing victories at Le Mans and design icons like the E-Type. Even as the world changed, Jaguar's identity stood apart from the crowd, rivaling Mercedes, BMW, and Porsche, not just in engineering, but in aspiration. Under Tata Motors since 2008, the brand held fast to its heritage until the very idea of that heritage was called into question. In November 2024, Jaguar wiped its entire digital archive, erasing years of racing triumphs, customer stories, and British craftsmanship in a single sweep. In place of the leaping cat, a new wordmark appeared, Jaguar, with a capital G and a capital U, designed for what executives called visual harmony. Managing Director Rodden Glover and Chief Creative Officer Jerry McGovern described the move as exuberant modernism, a philosophy meant to break from tradition and attract a younger, electric-first audience. Slogans like "delete ordinary and break molds" replaced the language of heritage, signaling a deliberate rejection of everything that once defined Jaguar. The new commercial ran just 30 seconds, yet left viewers searching for any sign of a Jaguar. Not a single car appeared on screen. Instead, androgynous models drifted through a maze of pink geometric shapes, dressed in high-fashion outfits that had more in common with a Paris runway than a British motor show. One male model wore a flowing dress, another gripped a sledgehammer, while others posed with paintbrushes inside mirrored elevators. The spot's energy was unmistakably avant-garde, vivid, abstract, and intentionally ambiguous. There was nothing that looked like a car or an engine, and that contrast felt complete. For a company that once sold dreams of open roads and racing heritage, the message was lost in translation. The absence of vehicles, engines, or even a glimpse of the new logo left critics baffled. Industry insiders compared the spot to a perfume advertisement, not a pitch for a luxury car. For many, the disconnect was immediate. If you did not already know Jaguar made cars, nothing in the ad would tell you. The campaign's creative choices made headlines, but not for the reasons Jaguar hoped. Elon Musk's forward post landed with the force of a verdict. Do you sell cars? In an instant, the question ricocheted across social media, gathering millions of views within hours. Musk's following, already primed for spectacle, seized the moment. The phrase became a rallying cry, copied, memed, and quoted by users from Los Angeles to London. What had been a confusing campaign now became a punchline. Jaguar's official reply tried to match the tone, saying something about breaking molds and reinventing the road, but the attempt fizzled. The brand's response drew only a fraction of the engagement, and most replies mocked the effort. Influencers, automotive journalists, and everyday drivers piled on, amplifying the sense that Jaguar had lost the plot. The original ad's oddity turned into global ridicule, fueled by Musk's platform and the viral mechanics of digital outrage. Within a day, the conversation shifted from creative misfire to reputational crisis. The question was no longer just about the ad, it was about whether Jaguar remembered what business it was in. Social media turned from confusion to outrage in hours. Hashtags like #KilledABritishIcon and #GoWoke, trended across platforms, gathering steam as thousands joined the chorus. One Instagram comment said, "Killed a British icon," and collected over 13,000 likes, quickly becoming a symbol of the backlash. Heritage customers, some who had waited decades to buy their dream car, now voiced betrayal and anger. The phrase "fire your whole marketing team" flooded Jaguar's posts, repeated by both casual observers and longtime enthusiasts. Conservative pundits and automotive bloggers called the campaign Bud Light 2.0 and warned other brands not to repeat Jaguar's mistake. The absence of cars in the ad became a running joke, with memes and side-by-side comparisons to classic Jaguar commercials spreading rapidly. Marketing Week called the strategy lunacy in explicit terms, while former loyalists declared the brand had abandoned its soul. The criticism was no longer just about a failed ad, it was about a century-old promise being erased in the name of reinvention. every viral comment, every trending slogan added fuel to a growing sense of collective loss and organized anger. Dealers across Europe watched the numbers collapse in real time. In April 2024, Jaguar moved nearly 2,000 vehicles. 12 months later, that figure had plunged to just 49. Showrooms that once displayed polished sedans and SUVs sat empty, their staff reduced to answering the same question from frustrated customers: when will new cars arrive? The answer never changed. Production had stopped entirely by December, a planned pause for the electric transition, but the timing proved disastrous. With no inventory to sell, sales managers faced months with no revenue. Some dealers cut hours, others laid off employees, and a few closed their doors altogether. The financial pain spread quickly through the network. Longtime partners who had invested in service bays and branded facilities found themselves with nothing to offer but apologies. The advertising agency behind the rebrand was quietly dismissed, but the damage was already done. For the first time in its modern history, Jaguar's retail network resembled a ghost town, the collapse visible not just in spreadsheets, but in every silent, empty showroom. Adrian Mardel's tenure as CEO ended on July 31, 2025, just 8 months after the rebrand campaign launched. The official statement described his exit as a voluntary retirement, a mutual agreement between Mardel and the company. Yet the timing left little room for doubt. The sales collapse was now public, the backlash relentless, and the board under pressure from every direction. Conservative media called it a forced resignation, and former President Donald Trump weighed in, labeling the rebrand a total disaster and predicting Mardel would not last long. Inside Tata Motors, concern over Jaguar's trajectory was growing. Publicly, JLR praised Mardel's legacy and spoke of fresh leadership for an electric future. Privately, directors and analysts pointed to the campaign's fallout as the breaking point. Marketing experts called the move inevitable, the kind of accountability that follows when a brand loses nearly all of its customers in less than a year. Mardel's departure became the clearest sign yet that the cost of the crisis was not just financial but institutional. The search for new direction had begun, but the damage was already done. The fallout at Jaguar echoed a warning that had already played out on a global stage. In 2023, Bud Light's partnership with Dylan Mulvaney cost the brand an estimated $1.8 billion, as once loyal drinkers walked away in protest. That collapse was not an isolated event. It became a case study for how quickly consumer backlash can turn cultural missteps into financial disaster. By 2024, companies across industries faced mounting fatigue with diversity and inclusion campaigns, and a growing segment of customers made their discontent impossible to ignore. Social media turned every marketing decision into a referendum, and boycotts gained real traction. Industry analysts traced a pattern: brands that tried to reinvent themselves by discarding their roots often paid the highest price. For Jaguar, the lesson landed hard. Heritage is not a burden to be deleted, but a foundation to be protected. The market rewarded brands that respected their history and punished those that treated loyalty as an obstacle. The era of trend chasing at the expense of core customers had reached its limit, with Jaguar's collapse standing as the latest and most dramatic evidence. Today, brand loyalty erodes faster than ever, and erasing heritage can erase a business. As companies chase new audiences, the Jaguar collapse warns: alienating your core is not reinvention, it is self-destruction. The future belongs to brands that remember where they came from. What do you think? Can Jaguar recover?